Hey McKenna, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it.
Of course, happy to be here.
Let's start out with your journey and maybe just give me a sense of what you do at Content Partners and what led you to join Content Partners and all do there.
For sure. So, we are a full service production company. We can do everything from ideation through completion in a multitude of mediums, but I'd say that we focus primarily on photo and video. And I'm the head of production there, which means I wear every hat under the sun. But primarily, I'm in charge for building the infrastructure that makes our production teams work smoothly. I help them out primarily, and I do some contracting on the front end. Everything from bidding to operations, I kind of have a hand in the mix.
Amazing. So tell me more about Content Partners in terms of how big is the company and where's it based out of and
We are a pretty small company. We're five staffers, and then we hire folks on per project. And I think that's really our superpower, actually. We've stayed small so that we can stay in the game. And then we hire the best people for each project. We don't have a roster of directors or photographers anymore. We go out and we find the people to make the project the best that it can be.
yeah, I talk to a lot of agencies and I feel like that's becoming the norm, right? To
I
stay
think so.
small and stay lean and then hire
Yeah.
really good people and contract with good people. So what made you want to decide to join Content Partners?
Yeah. Spent about 5 years in LA with another production company, and I decided it was time to come home, to come back to my roots. And I met with Content Partners right away, and they were just the nicest people. I think that's like first and foremost, they are so kind, and I really liked the way that they approached production and approached taking care of their people, and that's something that really mattered to me throughout my career, but they didn't have a place right when I came up. So I waited for about a year until something opened up. And then a friend of mine called me and was like, "Are you happy at your current job?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "I've got the team for you." And it all just came full circle, like back together. And that's history.
I love that. I think about this all the time, but you spend a lot of time at work, right? It's important to work with people that you like to work with, that
Yeah.
you can rely on and doing work that you enjoy, I think is so important.
And it's a privilege, I
It
think.
is a privilege. Agree.
And production is inherently crazy. Like you working long hours, it's a really tough job, but we all really like what we do. And I think that you couldn't really survive in this industry if you didn't like the people that you worked with and what you were hoping to create every day.
Yeah, to kind of wade through the chaos of it all. Yeah, I feel that every day too. It's work can be insanely crazy sometimes, especially your job, with production and balancing all of those things. So I wanted to ask you also, when you do your job, balancing sort of creativity with logistics as you're managing production, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I like this question. And it's also a hard question because I think I'm like the wet blanket that will be like the final no and cutting someone's creativity off. But I think that producing is inherently creative thinking and they go hand in hand. Like we're all in service of the creative. We're just working within certain budget parameters and trying to make it the best that it can be within those parameters. So I think it just takes a lot of conversation and teamwork. You're working with your creative partners, whether it's the client, the agency, or your creative leads on the job, to figure out how you can get the thing that you want in service of the project. Like if a director wants a camera that doesn't really fit into the budget that we have, it's like, okay, well, something else has got to give. Let's put our brains together and figure out how we can make this happen for you. So it's a constant conversation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. My background is design. Was a design leader at Dropbox and a few other places. So it's always interesting to embrace the constraints, right? There's
Yes.
always constraints. The answer can't always be, I need more money, I need more resource, which I think it's such a interesting challenge when you really embrace the constraints and try to, but not give on quality and not give on creativity, but embrace the constraints and get a great outcome.
Absolutely. I think those constraints make you more creative. Like you're given like your bumpers, basically, you're like safety bumpers, and you can just go crazy within those bounds. I think if you had all the money in the world, you'd have too many choices. It's like searching for a Netflix show. You just can't. You'll spend so much time spinning your wheels about possibilities that you won't come up with something that's better.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think those constraints can breed creativity and innovation and different things. Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to ask you back on the production side of things, what are some trends you've noticed in client expectations and how you're adapting to meet them? Like, how has your world changed in terms of what clients expect from you, and how are you adapting to meet those needs?
Yeah, I think the biggest trend that I've been watching my whole career, especially with the rise of social media and the rise of like everyone having a good camera at their fingertips and being able to produce content quickly that's engaging, is that budgets are getting smaller and creative expectations are getting higher. So I think for us, it's twofold. It goes back to that conversation of budget parameters breeding creativity. There are times when we can get together and figure out how we can do something and work within their budget and make it super cool. And there are times when there's a little bit of education in there, if there's circumstances of their creative that they just don't have the money for. We try to get in early and say, hey, we can't do this, but we can do this, and explain a little bit why. For us, we're always trying to do things safely and make sure that our crew are paid correctly and not cut any corners on the production itself. So there are times when we have to say no to a project because we can't do it to the standards that we want to produce everything. But I think we're always coming to the table first and foremost with solutions.
I like what you said about getting ahead of it early too. Like expectations up front, I think are huge.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing we're trying to adapt to is how do we get into the room sooner, especially as budgets decrease. It's like if we can get in and help you create to your numbers, everyone's going to be more successful.
Yeah, I think I've been on both sides of this where, been on the side delivering and on the side being delivered to, right? And I know, when expectations are huge. What are some of the favorite things that you've worked on?
Yeah, there's a few from my very early days. I worked on a project for Travel Oregon that was insane. It was just a teeny tiny crew traveling all over Oregon, capturing the most beautiful places. I mean, in this country, some otherworldly spots are in Oregon. I was in the home office, just like watching everything happen and trying to be there as much as I could for the team out on the ground. And I think my proudest achievement at that moment was getting a horse on top of a mountain. I had to like call this woman and she probably was not expecting anything like that to ever happen. And I was like, can you get one of your horses up this back trail to the top of the mountain for one shot with a drone? And she was like, yes, that sounds awesome. And she pulled it off and it looked incredible. It was very fun. And those spots are really, really cool. Definitely make me want to go to Oregon more.
I used to work up in Oregon in Mount Hood in the summers, and that's the prettiest place. Those cliffs on the coast, and there's
It's so
nothing prettier
gorgeous.
than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about you trying to coordinate horses on the top of the hill. I'm sure you have lots of moments where you're like, never thought I would, be doing doing this.
No, no. Especially when most of the time I'm like running payroll and working on spreadsheets and I get a call from the field and they're like, "We need help. We want this, but we can't do it." And then you just kind of dive in and do whatever you can.
Yeah, it's so funny. What would you say is a successful day for you? What does a successful day look like?
So many versions of that. I'd say if I can enter like a flow state in any way, that's always super gratifying for me. Like if I can map out what I have to do and then get to every piece of the puzzle and really sink in. It's hard to explain. Like if I can get like a 3-hour batch of payroll done and like help a couple people get onboarded and make them feel really solid and secure that they're doing everything right, and like field a fire from a production team and everyone there feels secure, and then check all the boxes on my list, I feel pretty good.
Yeah. Your job is so fascinating because it is just like context switching all day long.
Constantly. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. The multitasking is wild.
I can't imagine. What are some, do you time block your day? Do you kind of say this part is dedicated to operations versus, whatever it might be?
Yeah, I did that for a long time, actually. It's less and less now. Am I that rigid with my day? But I think doing it early on in my career helped me build the muscle memory for that. Now I'm just like deep in Copper and spreadsheets all day long, kind of figuring out what the priorities are for each day. If I get super overwhelmed, I think my first line of defense is to step back and map everything out. And that's where I'll like get everything on paper or on like a big whiteboard and really like map out my priorities for the day. And just taking those 10-15 minutes to get that bird's eye view can, I think, drop me right back in to being productive.
I love that. It's easy to kind of get sucked in and be sort of tunnel vision and then get overwhelmed by all the things versus taking a step back for a minute and
Yeah.
assessing.
Yeah, I think people, when they get super overwhelmed, the instinct is to just keep going and go harder. And you're just in that undertow of tasks and you can't get above it. And if you just step out for 5 or 10 minutes and like really figure out your path, you'll be good.
Yeah. Well, let's talk copper for a second.
Yeah.
So, how do you use copper? How does it help you, and how has it helped change the way your team communicates or collaborates on certain projects?
We use Copper in a ton of different ways. Our sales team uses it to track sales and incoming leads and make sure that they're following up with people. So we use that in our like nurturing pipeline. And then we've got a sales pipeline where we track projects that we're actually bidding on. And then we've got a delivery pipeline where we track projects that are actually active. And then those active projects go right back into nurturing. So we've got like a really solid full circle system set up, I think. And for me, it's game changing in that it's allowed us to communicate less about things like data entry or master contact lists or random spreadsheet that's helping us in one way. Everything just happens in one place now. And that's freed up a lot of time, which is indispensable.
So you do lead capture and then the nurturing and bidding on projects, and then post winning the client, you do a delivery pipeline as well inside
Yeah.
of Copper.
Yeah, very few programs work for me, which is why I was really excited that I actually liked Copper. And for me, those two go hand in hand for overall project management in Copper and being able to have that constant bird's eye view. And we can get really granular with data that we can capture on each job, and it stays with that job, which I love about that system.
Copper will be sort of the central source of truth for the project stuff.
Yeah. And it's like our source of history and future projection too, which I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, cool. So you try to project out future projects and how you might get renewals or repeat clients and that type of stuff.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the sales pipeline where we can track, we can track like quarterly projections in there. It's pretty high level. Things shift a lot once projects get to the delivery pipeline, but being able to see, like, if we win all these jobs, here's the chunk of change we're working with for the next, couple or so months is super helpful just to kind of keep us churning. It's really motivating to be able to see that data in your everyday workflow, as opposed to like pulling in accounting, getting reports going, hopping into yet another system and, pulling reports to analyze the data that way. We just get like a quick view of where we might be heading in the next couple of months.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are there any other key insights that you pull out of Copper that help you run the business?
There are a ton for me. They're maybe less exciting, but like I'm able to see a lot of data that helps with like year-end reporting. So we need to know which jobs used our insurance versus agency insurance and how much we spent on insurance for each job, or how much we billed to the production for insurance to justify our insurance renewals, which are a beast. It's not sexy, but it's necessary. And I love that I can just hit refresh on the extension into Google Sheets and have a sum total of the insurance that we spent in the year and compare that to our upcoming renewal and be like, no, we're good. It's justified. Like we are working this much to justify this policy.
Cool. So tactically, you folks use the Google Sheets extension to pull data in from Copper into Google Sheets and run reports off of it. Oh,
All
cool.
the time.
Are there any other interesting reports that you do out of Google Sheets that way?
Yeah, I pretty consistently am looking at whether or not we've received like final assets from a company so that we can use those in marketing materials. How many jobs have overages? We look at billables in there as well. And that's slightly more accurate data from the sales pipeline because of things like overages, or if a job's cost plus, we're billing less than we actually were bid for. So our accounting team is looped in there, and they can see all of the jobs on the docket. They see job numbers in that spreadsheet, and that helps connect to our QuickBooks system and keeps everything organized.
Well, one of the things we've talked a lot about at Copper is reporting and how we help our customers get insights. And I think one of the most powerful things at the end of the day is if we can just give you the data in a sheet, then you can do whatever you want with it versus us trying to come up with some new way of creating a report. Like people know how to use spreadsheets and if we can just get the data in there, we find that most of our customers really love that. Just give me the data in a Google sheet and let me go run my reports on it.
Yeah, it's truly incredible that now, like, I'm not hunting 5 billion different spreadsheets to then pull my own data together. I've got everything, and then I can just delete a few columns and create something custom for the team that needs it.
I love that you guys are using that. That's awesome. Are there any other sort of favorite features of Copper like that you love that you use often?
My favorite thing is just the flexibility and how user friendly it is. Like right off the bat, I was able to go in and create a project that had everything that we needed. And I didn't need to hop on too many calls. It was pretty simple once I got like a basic rundown that I could be like, okay, well, I know what we need. I'm just going to change this. Or like as our workflow is changing, as our processes are constantly improving, I can then go in and make Copper fit our needs seamlessly without losing any data. And it can change as we change.
I think that's super, super important, especially as, we're a CRM. A lot of our customers are small businesses to medium-sized businesses. And so obviously you're going to scale and grow and have changing needs. And so, I hope that in the DNA of our product is design and user experience and the ability to get value out of it quickly. And a lot of that is customization. We call it empowering the admins, and you are the definition of an admin for your in terms of like how to run the software and the operation. So being able to quickly go add a custom field or quickly rearrange things or create a new pipeline, I think that's what we've really tried to optimize for. And we have work to do, but I think you can get up and running with Copper in days versus months and years with other systems.
Oh, absolutely. We've tried a few other CRMs and we were not speaking the same language. So to jump in this one, I think I was a little weary and then started making it work for us within a matter of days.
I came back to Copper. I was originally leading product and design, and I came back as CEO about a year and a half ago. And one of the things I really wanted us to do was figure out why we're different, like what makes us unique, what makes us a better fit for certain types of customers, and how do we kind of carve out a niche for ourselves that where we can be really successful. I think we found that professional service companies like agencies like you and consulting and financial services and some of these professional service type businesses do really well with Copper. And so we've tried to put a stake in the ground for ourselves as a company where we want to be really, really good at something smaller than being like kind of okay at something that's maybe bigger. Because I think that's the way the world is trending, where you're going to want more specific tools that just right instead of just kind of good enough.
Mhm.
But when you think about content partners, what makes you all unique? And is there any sort of controversial opinions that you have about the industry and sort of how you stand out in your world?
I mean, I think we are really unique in that we do curate each team to the project needs. And I think that's getting a little bit more popular. I think people are definitely catching on that you pigeonhole yourself a little bit with a roster, but we've been doing it for a while now. So we have a pretty expanded system of contacts that we can pull from at any given time. More than that, I think we're unique in our culture. I think we really care about our people, and we care that they're treated right, that sets are run with fairness and joy, really. I mean, I think it's a tough industry for a lot of reasons, and days are really long on set, and there's kind of this undercurrent of like, you gotta climb the ladder, you gotta like get hazed to get in, you have to have a thick skin to make this work. And I just don't think that that's true anymore. I think that if your leaders from the top down are creating an environment that's welcoming, people work harder. And I think KP does that so well.
I really love that. Being in that space for a little while in my career, there is some sort of almost like you're guarding and gatekeeping this world. To go through a creative project that on the other side of it has an amazing outcome, whether it is videos or photos or a rebrand or something super creative and fun. As far as work goes, I think that's some of the funnest, most interesting and enjoyable projects you can be a part of.
And I feel like we kind of, yeah, there's all this like pushing people out and trying to stay on top and like trying to do the coolest thing. And I think that also makes us unique. Like we will do any type of project because it's all cool. Like getting to use your brain in this way is cool, whether or not it's like a small docu-style branded content piece or it's like a Super Bowl ad. It doesn't really matter. It's all fun and it's all work. And I think for us, that mentality has kept us in this game for longer than most production companies.
I love that. I would just relate to it because I got into design and then got into CRM. And, I never thought I would be designing CRM software. Like that maybe sounds boring or not interesting. I love it. It's so interesting. And I think you can find joy and interest and passion in all types of creative work.
Yeah. We all came from like creative backgrounds. And I think we have, or at least I do, I went to school for theater. So I never imagined I'd be on the back end of a production company. But every bit of what we do is creative. And I think it's just switching your mindset to think that, being able to create an infrastructure that makes people feel supportive is just as creative and talented as being on stage or as, being the director on set. Every bit of it is creative, I think.
That is so true, where, designing the org of a business is just as creative as anything. If you think of it that way, you are literally designing how a business runs and how it operates and how fun and interesting and creative is that? That's so cool.
Especially when people want to work for you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you can design a business and a culture that really elevates people and gives them a place where they fit and they do their best work with their career. I think that's such a cool aspiration. Okay, last thing here. You talked about getting in the zone. Is there any go-to playlists or podcasts that help you get into your flow state?
Yeah, they're so nerdy. I love soundtracks and scores. So very often some like Lord of the Rings or
Oh, I love it.
or like Pride and Prejudice, great score. If I need to feel like really inspired, I'll put on some like Interstellar.
Oh, I love that one. So
Yeah.
good.
And occasionally I do make everyone else listen to that. Like if I'm really struggling, I'll be like, I'm so sorry, everybody. I have to put on, some Zimmer. I have to do it.
Yeah, I love that. I used to work at a software development agency, and we had our desks on it kind of in a circle, and one of the engineers would always put on the Tron soundtrack and just blast it, and we would just all jam out to that, and I loved it. It was just the instrumental stuff I think can help get into a better state for sure.
I mean, that's its goal. It's like meant to make you feel something when you're watching a movie. So you get to pretend that you're like, your stakes are that high while you're like making a spreadsheet. I'm like, yes, and saving the world with Excel,
Yeah, you're saving somebody's world, that's for sure.
right?
Yes, well, that's amazing. Well, thank you. I really, a couple things. I appreciate you being a customer of Copper a lot, and I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. And we love Content Partners and love the work you're doing. It's very inspiring and cool and interesting. And we hope we can continue to be good partners with you all and continue to build the software that helps you run your business. And obviously, if there's anything we can do to make Copper better for you, we want to do it. We just really appreciate.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm so grateful to have this system, and I'm grateful that there is communication between everyone and that we're all able to like, I'm able to actually talk to you, which is very exciting for us.
We feel like the best way to build a good tool for folks is to talk to them and understand their needs. And so, I'm very nerdy as well. If any customer wants to talk to me about the most intricate features or details of the system or a high level vision, I'm down to chat anytime. I love it. I love our customers, and I love, this industry that I'm in. And just like you love, it's fun to be able to work on something that you get joy and passion out of.
Yeah, and that's helping people. I mean, you're helping us run our business.
That means a lot. And yeah, we appreciate you letting us have that opportunity to help you run your business. Well, McKenna, thanks again. Really great to chat.